So in the last couple of BBCs that I've done, I've focused on issues related to women, statements and attitudes that we encounter in Buddhist texts and teachings about women, which can appear somewhat critical and even denigrating. But some of these are not exclusive to Buddhism. They're found in many countries, cultures, and religions all around the world. So one of them that I talked about was the idea of that a female rebirth is inferior, unfortunate. And I mentioned that one of the terms for woman in Tibetan language literally means lower rebirth. But that Lama Kunga in Berkeley said that he changed the spelling of the term so that it means medicine for men. And our friend Venerable Dunya watched this BBC, and then he wrote to me, and he told me that one of his teachers, Geshe Jambel Drakpa, who was principal of Sarah College for many years, said something similar. He was once giving teachings on Nagarjuna's letter to a friend, and they came across that term, kiemen, inferior rebirth. And Geshe Drakpa first explained why this term is used, why women are considered lesser birth. And it's simply that in the sense that women tend to have more suffering, such as illness related to menstruation and difficulties of childbearing, child rearing, and so on. But then the Geshe went on to suggest changing the spelling and using the term, instead of lesser rebirth, medicine for men. So similar to what Lama Kunga said. And he said that, yeah, women are like medicine to men, and by extension, medicine to society. So maybe we'll see a change taking place in the way that term is spelled in a more universal way. Also, in that BBC, I said that I wondered if this idea actually can be traced to the Buddha. Did the Buddha say that the female rebirth is inferior? So I wrote to Bhikkhu Bodhi, who seems to be quite an expert on the Pali Canon. He's translated or worked on translations of many of the Pali Sutras. And I asked him if there are such statements in the Pali Sutras. So his reply is, in the Pali Sutta Pitaka, there are no sutras praising a male birth as inherently superior to a female birth. We do find some sutras in Anguttara Nikaya that denigrate women, but these are suspect. No sutras say that men are inherently more capable of spiritual attainment than women. This is a position ascribed to Mara. And he mentioned a particular sutra that I'll read after a little bit, which is the source of that idea. And then he speaks of another, I don't know, it's part of the Samyutta Nikaya. It's called the Matugama Samyutta. This speaks of certain types of suffering that are particular to women, but these don't include lack of capacity for spiritual attainment. So this is what Bhikkhu Bodhi said. And I looked into this section that he mentioned, the Matugama Samyutta. And it seems to be a collection of statements made by the Buddha about women. And there's quite a few parts to it. I won't read all of them. Some of them talk about what factors a woman needs to be agreeable to men. So we're not concerned about that. And what qualities she needs to take a fortunate rebirth in the next life. Now that's something to be concerned about. And those qualities include things like faith, virtue, being energetic, mindful, and wise. So we're quite familiar with that. And one of these sections does contain a list of sufferings that women have, but not men. And it seems to me that many of these are culture or time specific. For example, that women have to go and live with their husband's family. They have to serve men. So, these were the case in India and probably still even today in India and many other countries. But our Western culture is changing a lot of these. And others Buddha mentioned are more universal. For example, menstruation, getting pregnant, giving birth. However, nowadays we have more choices regarding these, and also solutions, so that they're not necessarily problems. And in fact, I can imagine many lay women would feel unhappy just to be told that giving birth is suffering. I mean, yes, it is painful, but many women, for example, my mother, I mean, that was her big dream in life, was having lots of kids. She loved raising children. So there's some suffering, but a great deal of joy. This is what many women would say. Anyway, the last part of this this section, called the Matugama Samyutta, contains a list of qualities by which a female disciple can grow spiritually. And he seems to be mainly talking about lay women. So that is mentioned at the end. So the Buddha said, Bhikkhus, growing in 5 areas of growth, a woman, noble disciple, grows with a noble growth, and she acquires the essence, acquires the best of this bodily existence. What are the 5? She grows in faith, in virtue, in learning, in generosity, and in wisdom. Growing in these 5 areas of growth, a woman, noble disciple, grows with a noble growth, and she acquires the essence, acquires the best of this bodily existence. So you notice he mentions learning and wisdom. So it's clear, that women are capable of learning the Dharma and developing wisdom. And if this is true for lay women, non-monastics, then it should be even more true for monastic women. And we can see that from the stories in the Therigatha, the collection of stories of Buddha's nun disciples, many of whom attained nirvana, liberation, also became excellent teachers and leaders of their communities. And I was wondering, one other thought that came up in my mind, I wondered if at the time of the Buddha, or in the centuries since then, as Buddhism spread to various countries, if female teachers had male disciples, were there men who became disciples of female teachers. I did hear of one woman in Tibet in the last couple of centuries who had a lot of male disciples. I know. Anyway, I'll look into that, and it's certainly the case today. Women Buddhist teachers have male disciples, even monk disciples, not just women and nuns. So anyway, here's the sutra that Bhikkhu Bodhi mentioned. The idea of a female rebirth being inferior is attributed to Mara. So this is called the Soma Sutra, and it's in the Samyutta Nikaya. So Soma was a woman who was the daughter of one of King Bimbisara's ministers. So she was actually born into a high kind of status. And she could have had a nice life, but she became a follower of the Buddha and became a nun and practiced, and the implication seems to be that she did attain nirvana. And the sutra takes place in Sravasti in India. So she got up and did her daily practices, going on alms round, eating her meal and so on. And then she went to the forest and sat down at the foot of a tree to meditate for the rest of the day. And then Mara, Mara the evil one, desiring to arouse fear, trepidation, and terror in the bhikkhuni Soma, desiring to make her fall away from concentration, approached her and addressed her in verse. That state so hard to achieve, which is to be attained by the seers, can't be attained by a woman with her 2-fingered wisdom. I wonder what that means. 2-fingered wisdom? 2-fingered wisdom. So Soma wondered who said this. Was it a human being or a non-human being? And then it occurred to her, this is Mara, the evil one, who has recited the verse, desiring to arouse fear, trepidation, and terror in me, desiring to make me fall away from concentration. So having understood that, then she gave a reply to Mara. She said, what does womanhood matter at all when the mind is concentrated well, when knowledge flows on steadily, as one sees correctly into Dharma? One to whom it might occur, I'm a woman, or I'm a man, or I'm anything at all, is fit for Mara to address. And then Mara realized that Bhikkhuni Soma recognized him. Shucks. And feeling sad and disappointed, he disappeared right there. So the words, this verse that Soma recited, are similar to what Tara said when she was a bodhisattva aspiring to reach enlightenment, and some monks advised her that she pray to be reborn as a male. And she said, here there is no man, there is no woman, no self, no person, no consciousness. Labeling male or female has no essence, but deceives the evil-minded world. And also, when we were going through Shantideva's 9th chapter on Tara retreat recently, verse 87 says something similar. So this follows kind of an investigation of the body, looking into all the parts of the body, trying to find something that you can point to as being the body, inherently existing, independently existing body. So at the end of that section, he says, hence, which discerning one would be attached to dream-like form? When, like that, the body does not exist, what are men? What are women? So some people listening to this might be puzzled by these statements. What are they saying? There's no man, there's no woman, there's no body. So they're talking about the ultimate level of things, the ultimate nature of things, ultimate truth, not conventional truth. So they mean that there's no inherently existing, independently existing body, or male or female. So when we go through ultimate analysis and we search through the body, all the parts, cells, molecules, atoms, and so on, trying to find something we can point to as being a real body existing from its own side, we can't find anything. So that's the ultimate level of things. And people, ordinary beings who don't understand that, grasp at bodies as being real, inherently existing, and then they get caught up in attachments, aversions, jealousy, all kinds of afflictive emotions, and then create karma, and this whole situation just perpetuates our suffering in cyclic existence. So the highest form of wisdom understands that bodies, male or female or any kind of body, they don't exist ultimately, inherently, independently from their own side, but they do exist conventionally. And we do need to take care of our bodies because they're the basis for our life, the basis for our being able to meditate and practice. So I think that's what these verses, these statements are pointing to. A balanced approach. We take care of our body just enough so it's healthy and we can practice, but not pampering it, not overdoing it, and not identifying with it, and then generating all these afflictive emotions. And then using our body, using our life to practice and create the causes to free ourselves and all other beings from suffering and their causes.
I can think of the new lineage as originating from Bhikshuni Lakshmi, and I think Chur also from Machik Patron.
Yes.
But it's curious that they don't list the subsequent female lineage holders and they're all male.
Yeah. That's something to be explored, investigated. But yeah, there are at least some in the Tibetan tradition. Some female masters, lineage holders, or lineage, not holder, but originator.